Hello and welcome back to Organic Cardboard. My name is Owen Kneep, and today I would like to pay an homage to a titan of the board game industry, a man who is well known for having produced the Settlers of Catan. And if you don't already know who I'm talking about Klaus Teuber. Klaus Teuber passed away recently. He passed away April 1st of this year, 2023. And uh, what Klaus Teuber did in creating the game Catan was he created a game that was so, I don't know, instrumental. I don't know if that's quite the right word. It had such a huge impact on the board game industry as we know it today. Catan is a game that is like on the cusp of being one of those just household words that people are familiar with, just like Monopoly. It's a game that came out 60 years after Monopoly. Monopoly was produced back in 1935, and Catan, or the Settlers of Catan as it was originally known, was produced in 1995 at the Nuremberg Toy Fair, where Klaus Teuber, a man who was originally a dental technician, uh, had found that this job that he worked in, he was not able to express his creativity enough, and began dabbling into board game design, and had gone through a few other games. He had won the Spiel des Jahres from Germany. That's the Game of the Year award in Germany. And he had won that three other times. He'd won it for a game called Barbarossa and a couple other games that have a German name that's I'm not going to be able to pronounce properly. But one was called Hoity Toity, and that came out in 1990. Barbarossa was 1988, and then Hoity Toity was 1990, and then in 91 he won it again for a game called Wacky Wacky West. At least the English version of it was called that. Again, I'm not even going to try to pronounce the German names. But then he comes along, and in 1995 he's able to produce Catan, and Catan did so well. It won it won that same award. And then he produced some 5,000 copies of it just that were just immediately sold. Like he spent the next few years just continuing to produce the same game and get it out into the world. And it was, again, so successful that he felt that he was finally able to leave his job that he just did not feel fulfilled in order to be able to fully work as a board game designer. Now, I'm not familiar if he had any other games that came out after Catan that were anywhere near as popular or even well known. He may have created some other games, but there's so many expansions to Catan. There are like these offshoots of Catan that use a lot of the same system but have a whole lot of additional mechanics. There's like there's the Starfarers one where you're out in space. There's one that you're in the Stone Age. There's one where you're in the Incan empires and you're trying to develop these Incan nations and work with this like kind of jungle environment. But the base Catan was kind of his what do you call it, magnum opus or whatever, the main thing that he was focused on. And this was born off of his interest in kind of like the Viking stories of the past, and he had this idea of a kind of a somewhat Viking themed game where he imagined if these Vikings were going across the waters and they're entering into a new land, what are they going to do next? And so it's this idea of settling in, of creating towns and cities, of producing resources and competing with other neighboring peoples. And that's essentially what you're doing in Catan. you're going through, and there's a lot of luck involved with it, as you're rolling dice that determine these resources that are produced based off of who's got uh, presence or control of these different regions on the board that are represented by this very iconic hexagonal shape. So even that shape of that hexagon is so reminiscent of Catan. It almost symbolizes Catan on its own when you see that, and the impact again that Catan had in this board game industry, I feel was it's such a big thing that we don't really think about too much, but it kind of kicked off that whole German style of board game design that people are fond of and often pay close attention to. So we can kind of get a little I don't know if ethnocentric's the word, nationalistic maybe, in America, where we don't really focus on all these other countries and what they're producing. But the German board game industry is widely praised and well known within all of the rest of the world. And part of that interest was because of how popular Catan was. It was such a again such a popular game that it really brought a lot of attention to not only the Spiel des Jahres every year, but just the German board game industry as a whole. So again, with Catan, it's there's so much you can say about it, but what Monopoly was back in 1935, Catan is today. And it's not a perfectly fair comparison because, well, anytime you're going through a period of time like that, 60 years later, you're going to expect that things are going to improve. A lot of people hate Monopoly because there's a lot of luck involved with Monopoly. And a lot of people hate Catan because there's a lot of luck involved with Catan as well, but there's not as much luck. And I feel like it's a very fun amount of luck, and there's a lot of strategy involved as well, and maybe more so than there is in Monopoly. Monopoly's very strongly determined on the roll of the dice at the beginning, what you're able to acquire through those die rolls, and also if you can get anybody to actually trade things with you. Catan, you're also trading things with people, and you can negotiate on those costs or whatever, those how much you're going to give somebody of one thing for them to give you one of something else. So there is a little bit of a Monopoly-esque feel to that, but what Catan's doing though is giving you enough control to mitigate your luck, so that as you're rolling dice and you do well, you can say, hey, like, I won that game because of my skill, and it wasn't just luck. And then if you lose, you can go, oh, well, I just wasn't lucky. So it kind of hits this space for a game that can be well loved within a family atmosphere. Anybody can play Catan and enjoy it. I think it's something that your mother, that your grandmother, that your kids and yourself, everybody can get involved with it and have a fun time. And it's got enough strategy to it to keep somebody that is a board gamer, so to speak, entertained enough to at least enjoy it. And then also be able to share those experiences and those memories with your family. So again, just I wanted to kind of talk about this today, just so that we can keep in mind somebody that has passed away all too soon. He was just shy of 71 years old when he passed away. He was Klaus Teuber. He was born in June 25th of 1952. And then passes away this year, April 1st of 2023. So that's an early death. The family hasn't fully talked about why or like what happened exactly. They just said after a brief illness, so it was something that was sudden that came up, but otherwise they're not giving any direct details beyond that. but it's unfortunate that we've lost such a huge figure. You know, he is succeeded by 3 children. He's got his 2 sons that I believe run his company now, and his daughter as well. His sons are Benjamin and Guido, and then his daughter's name is Benny. And I think Benny does some work with the company. I don't know if she's quite as involved as the 2 sons are. I'm not 100% on that from the little bit that I have read up about him. But so Catan's going to continue. It's probably going to always be this game that people are going to be aware of and kind of have in their back pocket. I mean, most people still have a copy of Monopoly, even if they're into the big board game hobby, almost as a nostalgia factor. And I feel like Catan's been around so long now that a lot of people do have a really strong nostalgic factor with Catan as the continue to want to bring those memories of childhood into the present day with their own children as well. So, yeah, I think it just can't be stated enough, though, how impactful Catan was for this industry. You know, it's sold over 40 million copies. It's been translated into 40 different countries. The reason why it's called Catan now is just to make it more simple for the translation effect, so that when somebody in another country hears the word Catan, it's not going to be like Die Settlers. I don't know how you say settlers in Germany, but you know, it's not going to have like some other language involved with it. Just the simple name of Catan to represent the land that you are settling. So I think that's about all I have to really say about it for now. But I want us to all just take a little bit of time and remembrance of Klaus and what he has produced, what his you know, gift to this hobby and to families around the world that enjoy games together. But anyways, if you guys enjoy this kind of content, you know, you can always give it a couple of those free clicks on the screen. It really does help support channels like mine. But otherwise, keep an eye out. We'll be doing additional content. I'll probably be doing another video soon, talking a little bit more about Catan, and whether it's right to keep wanting to play Catan at this time here in 2023. So anyways, thanks so much for sticking around with me while I ramble on, and keep an eye out, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.